Now, it's been revealed that the United Nations has sent 153 asylum seekers to Rwanda, even though they opposed Britain's own scheme to send migrants to the country. Officials in Rwanda let the cat out of the bag, announcing they'd welcome scores of people from Libya under a United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees programme. But just 3 months ago, the UN hired a legal team to set out its grave concerns about the UK's Rwanda plan. The Home Secretary, James Cleverly, said the UN scheme highlighted Rwanda's hospitality, capability and commitment to hosting refugees. While Tory party Deputy Chairman Lee Anderson said, "It is hypocrisy of the highest level. Either Rwanda is safe or it is not." Now, Matthew Larza is still with us to discuss this alongside the political commentator Alex Armstrong. Alex, do you agree with Lee Anderson on this one?
I couldn't agree more with him. And I think the public want to know why it's safe for the United Nations and why they think that it's a safe country to send refugees to, but not safe for the UK to do so. It's utterly bonkers. In fact, I saw a tweet today from the Rwanda refugees' own Twitter account, which is part of the UNHCR, saying that Rwanda is a safe and welcoming country and that people are thriving there. Yes. So I'm totally lost for words.
OK, Matthew, it is true also, isn't it, that the Rwandan government is quite offended by the prospect that it's not a safe country. I mean, this isn't going down particularly well there.
Yeah, well, it's not. I mean, you know, what offends the Rwandan government doesn't really interest me very much. What interests me is that we sort the migration crisis out and that we treat people fairly. The two things are not mutually contradictory. Rwanda has tens of thousands of refugees there from elsewhere in Africa, and actually the Rwandan government has treated them well, and there are endless UN reports saying that. So this is basically an absolutely artificial.
Why are the UN sending
because the question is, they're sending the migrants there because they have nowhere else to go. This is not people who've appeared on the shores of Britain who should be processed in Britain and sent back to their original country if they're found not to be here. There's a particular issue with the objection by the UNHCR to what the British government proposed, which is that of most of the refugees that and of course let's remind ourselves not a single person has been sent from Britain, but the people who will be sent from Britain are likely to be from a handful of countries, including Syria and other countries in the Middle East. And what basically happens in Rwanda is, in the Rwandan system of processing people, 97% of people from those countries are sent back. Whereas at the moment, in Britain, 97% of people from those countries are allowed to stay. And that's what alarmed the UNHCR within the process of reviewing the British policy.
So, Alex, isn't that a fair point, that it's actually unsafe? When someone has fled a country because they might be persecuted or tortured or whatever, and then they just get sent back again, maybe that's why Rwanda is unsafe.
But this is the whole point of the Rwanda deal. It was to establish rules via the British government and the Rwandan government through a deal that says we won't do that.
Right.
So it doesn't say that, though. It doesn't tell the Rwandan government it's got to keep a certain percentage or send a certain percentage back. It does say it's got to follow a certain procedure. But if the result of that procedure is literally the opposite of what the result of the procedure here, then that's what alarms people.
But I think it still goes back to the main point. Why are the UN sending refugees there? Why do they declare it as safe? People of similar backgrounds, similar religions. Why are they declaring it as safe?
Almost all the people the UN has sent there are not from those countries.
But I think if we're looking at the way in which the media and the press and politicians on the left have described this Rwanda plan as unsafe. Rwanda is an unsafe country. People shouldn't go there. Refugees shouldn't go there. It's completely...
Nobody has ever said that Rwanda is unsafe for everybody.
No,
not for everybody.
Loads of Labour MPs have said Rwanda is not a safe country.
No, it's not a safe country for some people, and that is absolutely true.
Matthew, do you object to the notion of offshore solutions to asylum?
It depends what we mean by offshore solutions. The Australian system, I'm partly Australian, the Australian system was people were dealt with under Australian law on what was basically the equivalent of Jersey, rather less rich, but islands off the Australian coast. Unless we do want to stick people in Jersey or the Isle of Man, or as Tony Blair suggested, as we've revealed this week, on the Isle of Mull,
that's interesting. I mean, New Labour were floating this a while ago.
So if offshore processing is what's going to happen, for example, the deal that's been done in Albania, where with the Italian government, where people are processed by the Italian system, they're dealt with by Italian judges, but they happen to be sitting in Albania just across the sea from Italy. That alarms me less than a scheme which is about shipping people to be dealt with under somebody else's law, and that's the difference for me.
I think that completely goes against the idea of sovereignty and having our government process people in a different country. I don't agree with that. I think that really raises questions about whether we're imposing this sort of colonial-style governmental system on Rwanda. If we're putting them over to Rwanda, we have to make
I'm not
sure
suggesting we do that in Rwanda. I'm suggesting that we...
But we do that with any other country in the world, and it's the same issue, right? You could send them to Germany and say they're not safe in Germany for X, Y, Z reasons. You could send them to Britain and say they're not safe. Jews aren't safe in Britain anymore because of what's going on in the streets here. There's plenty of arguments to be made that Rwanda's not a safe country. But at the end of the day, the United Nations themselves are sending hundreds of people there. And not only that, Andrew, we're also spending millions of pounds. We are the 5th biggest contributor. We spend $500 million every 5 years funding the United Nations, only to have their legal team slap us in the face.
So, but isn't the problem not necessarily that the Rwanda solution isn't fit for purpose? Isn't the problem that we have a migration crisis? And maybe if we solve that, rather than trying to sort of farm out these people to various other countries.
Well, how do we solve this crisis? We can't stop people coming over on the boats. It's clear to see the only thing that's stopping...
There's a lot more we can do. We can smash the gangs.
Smash the gangs. I mean, I've heard this phrase back to back. Someone tell me how Labour are going to smash the gangs.
Let's find out, Matthew, because I am interested, because Labour seem to say that they've got the silver bullet on this, and they keep talking about how they will sort this problem out of the small boats. Because they're being very vague on...
Not being vague. I mean, the two principal parts of smashing the gangs, which is one, which the Tories have had 13 years to do it and haven't done it, is use anti-terrorism legislation, which would really help the police and border force, and would mean that would give a real boost to smashing the gangs. The second one is setting up a new cross-border police force, but the Tories won't do it for ideological reasons.
So they're not interested in it. The problem is on the other side of the border.
Yes, exactly.
What do you want us to do? Go have Met Police in France?
Yeah, actually, yes, to have...
It doesn't work. It doesn't work. We've already been funding...
No, we haven't been doing that. No, we haven't. We've been writing blank checks to the French government. That's not true.
Well, then what would you do about it? Because, as you say, the origin of the problem is in France.
Yes.
They are not dealing with the criminal gangs over there, right? So how do you deal with them?
We need a strong deterrence. And I actually think that's what parts of this bill... I'm not saying the Rwanda bill is perfect, by the way. I would like to see a lot more done to it. I do think...
You see this as a deterrent?
Yes, it will be, because if illegal immigrants are coming to the country and they're seeing their rights, you are never going to get citizenship, you are never going to be allowed to stay in this country, you will be shipped off, they will stop because they will see it as a dead end.
There's no evidence for that.
Well, it's just semantics. It's just human nature, isn't it? You're not going to go somewhere and waste all your money and time going somewhere you know you won't be able to stay.
Because at most 1,000 people are going to be sent to Rwanda. At most, no, absolutely not. At most 1,000 people are going to be sent to Rwanda. What we need is a system that works, so you don't have applications piling up, which the Tories have completely failed to do, which is why they're spending so much money on hotels.
I mean,
it's
agree.
A complete failure of a system,
horrendous,
and Rwanda is not the answer.
And the Tories haven't solved it.
It absolutely didn't, because we sorted the problem, because we got the Sangat camp closed in Calais, because we actually worked with our European partners to do it. The Tories have just been taken for a ride.
OK, well, look, it's getting very heated. I don't think we're going to agree tonight. So let's move on.